We're talking about immigration, but I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you were born in America? You were born here. You weren't? Where were you born?
I don't know.
You were born?
I don't know how we
You don't know? How many of you think you were born?
know.
Yeah. See, I was born in Georgia. That's where I'm from. So most of us consider ourselves to be Americans, right? Well, we live here, like we're Americans, but we all have different ethnic backgrounds, right? So your families come from different places. You were born in Australia?
Yeah, like the one who was strip or something.
Okay, see, you might not have been born in America, but you're still American, right? Or you consider yourself to be. Well, I want to go around, and if everyone knows their family history, like I'll start. I actually have Hawaiian descent. My mom's from Hawaii. So we just go around the miles. You start. Do you know where your family comes from? Are you Irish? Are you Scottish? Okay. You're partly Irish.
Okay, that'll be great because that'll be like
I think, and then
Okay, cool. What about you? From Guam? That's very cool.
my great-great-grandpa is
I'll be gone,
half black, but you can still probably Indian,
An immigrant is someone who moves from one country
part Scottish,
Oh, cool. I'm actually part Chilean too. That's very cool. What about you? Okay.
reasons
That's
people
awesome.
came to America.
all I
One of
know
them
is
was
that
pain.
What?
What is pain?
You were born here.
Family is where basically
That's awesome.
I'm part Haiti.
German? So you have German descent.
what their own food, so they accept job opportunities.
because I'm taking
Jewish.
Charles.
Okay, well, all of us, even though we're here in America, and some of us don't know exactly what different ethnic backgrounds we may have. We're talking about immigration today, and at some point in time, from the 1600s till now, obviously America was made because so many people migrated, right? Starting with the English, and we'll get to that. But all of us people groups that came over during like large-scale immigration and the times they came over. Can somebody tell me what immigration is?
It's moving from one country to another.
Good, that's exactly right. And it doesn't have to be America, but we are specifically focusing on people who've immigrated to the United States. And in the 1600s, the first people group to migrate to the United States were the Pilgrims and the Puritans. I'm sure you've heard about them. Migrated to America, migrated for different reasons. But the Puritans and the Pilgrims, they were from England, they migrated because they wanted religious freedom, because they didn't have that in England. And they were some of the first people to come over and develop America, and that's how the 13 colonies got started. And also during the 16 and 1700s, a lot of Africans were brought over, and they were brought over to be slaves to the colonists. I'm sure you guys have talked about this too, but slavery was abolished in the late 1800s. Now, who can tell me quickly which war?
Revolutionary.
It wasn't a Revolutionary War. Civil War, that's the war that abolished slavery. Awesome. Okay, so the English and many Africans came over during the 1600s and 1700s. And then during the 1800s, a huge flood of Irish people immigrated to the United States. And there was actually a big potato famine in England, so food was scarce. And a lot of them had to migrate to America because they realized they would have more food there, and they also wanted more job opportunities. I'm not sure. Russians are not one of the people that we're focusing on today. Oh, Ellis Island? Yeah, Ellis Island was the first place that opened in the United States for immigrants. We can talk about that in a minute. But in the 1800s, one of the biggest groups were the Irish people, and also the Germans and Asians. So a lot of Germans came over during the 1800s. Actually, a lot of them became farmers, and so they contributed to agriculture in America. All right, and then during the gold rush in 1849, a lot of the people in Asian countries heard about it, and then they wanted to find wealth, and they wanted to early gold rush. So they came over during the late 1800s to America. So you have all these people coming to America during these times. 1900s, a bunch of Italians came over, and you mentioned Ellis Island, and they're actually a big group that came over as soon as the United States president opened up Ellis Island and said that immigrants could come in to the United States. And that was actually the peak of immigration. So in the early 1900s, America had so many people coming in from all these different countries of the world because people wanted to find new jobs, they wanted new opportunities, they wanted to experience new things, or maybe there were things back in their home countries that they just couldn't live there anymore. And nowadays, we have a lot of Latin American immigrants coming from different places like Cuba, Mexico, Panama, places down there. Immigrants actually faced a lot of hardships as they came to America, and some of those were obviously that they had to leave their home, and a lot of times it was very sudden. Something would happen back in their home country, like we mentioned the Irish people, the potato famine, that caused them to have to come to America. And some of them faced religious persecution when they were here. Many of the immigrants were just resented by native-born Americans. So people that were born in America, a lot of times they looked at the immigrants and they looked down on them because they had been to the country and they weren't born there, which was not right. But those are some of the hardships that they faced. Immigrants have contributed to America since they came, and they're still doing it today. As you guys have probably heard, America is what we call a melting pot. So all these cultures from all these people that have migrated to America have all formed what we call our American culture. Do you have a question?
My dad works in a melting pot when I was downstairs.
Yeah, it's also a restaurant, but America is referred to a melting pot because there are so many cultures that make up what we call the American culture. So, okay, answer this. Do you guys recognize different fashions or food types that go with different countries? Okay, can somebody give me an example? Anything? What? Rice. So what country eats a lot of rice?
China.
China. They do. Yes.
Alaska. The Indians.
Yeah, or like it's Hawaiian. So when you see certain names with different types of restaurants, like Italian restaurants, Mexican restaurants, those are all cultures that have come because people have migrated to the United States. Do you have another one?
Yeah, in Jamaica, the girls braid their hair.
They braid their hair.
In a different way.
Do you have one? No? One thing I think of is, you know, when you see those Japanese dresses, the Komodos,
The people
yeah, or the red dots.
Indians.
Yeah,
They wear like those things over their head.
Yeah, so there's different things, different cultural aspects of different people that we recognize, right, when we see this. Bring our focus back in, and I want to talk to you guys about really quickly the process of immigration. Today, in order to become a citizen of the United States, if you weren't born here, you have to be 18 years older, and you have to have lived here with another citizen or something for at least 5 years, and then you can go and fill out an application to become a citizenship certificate. Real person, real certificate, and you can just look at it and pass it around. Complicated, right? But it's very cool for people that migrate into the United States today, and they go through the immigration process. They get a certificate that looks similar to that. It's probably a little updated because that was over 100 years ago. Our nation today has all its cultures and all its different people groups because so many people migrated. Here, yeah, just take one.
pencils because they don't have lead, they have graphite. It's not good.
So if you guys can remember, I put the people group on there, and if you can match that 90 and
Emma, I like your graphite pencil. I'm not calling it a lead pencil because it doesn't have lead in it. It has graphite in it.
Alright, has everybody seen the certificate?
No.
They are a book of You guys need a little bit of help?
Yes.
Alright, let's think it through. We talked about the Puritans and the Pilgrims, right?
Yeah, they're
Where did they come from? Yeah, he's right. I will give you a hint. We talked about 3 major people groups within the 1800s. This person's not alive anymore. But this was
someone you.
It's not one of my relatives, but it's a relative of a friend of mine. And yes, this is the real certificate that this person received.
But why is
with-
it black? Why does it feel like a...
So,
This is over 100 years old.
most of us are pretty much at the age.
Me.
I've seen some answers, I've seen some good answers like
Oh, it's real.
Don't worry, you guys are in school.
Like,
Okay, guys, I'm 3 people groups fell within the 1800s.
I also saw some answers that said someone
We
was
talked about
Irish, which is true.
yes, and why did many Irish people come?
because
He was
potato.
listening.
Potato.
Potato famine.
1800. Wait, did Latin Americans came to the 1800s, right?
Latin Americans are coming more recently. So what would that be?
1900.
There was Ellis Island. Write it down on paper. What is
Wait,
the
isn't that
on
the
the west
1800s?
side of the United States?
That is the 1800s.
I'm just putting Z.
Here. Landed at an island.
Just try your best, you guys. But there are 2 people groups fall between the 16 and 1700s, 3 between the 1800s, and 2 between the 1900s. Try to remember from the PowerPoint
Angel
the order that they came in.
Island. Okay.
And if you really can't remember, go to the next section.